what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from a team of teachers from Bellavista. The team is led by Debbie Behrens. Her assistants are Jodie and Drew, and they're going to talk about how they're actually coping in terms of technology and what's transpired over the last few months in relation to COVID and their school. Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Morning, Karen. Thanks for having us. We're delighted to help and share.
Thanks. Over to you.
Right. Should we start?
Okay, so good morning, everybody. My name is Drew, and I'm a social worker at Bellavista School. I have been there since September of last year. At the moment, I work in the school in a therapeutic capacity as I facilitate all of our school's social skills groups. But I also work in an educational space. I facilitate the EMS program in grade 7, and I work collaboratively with Jodie and Debbie to roll out our GCD program.
Jodie.
Morning, everybody. My name is Jodie du Preez. I am trained as a drama therapist and currently completing my master's in racial identity development in children. I started at Bellavista last year in the second term conducting a drama program, and then I moved into an art teaching position, and now I'm a part of the GCD team.
I'm Debbie, and I have been at Bellavista for some years now. I've taught art and technology and natural science in the past, but recently took over the media center and the IT lab. And the school always had envisioned a collaborative space for inquiry-based learning. And I attempted that on my own, but it really didn't work. And when Drew and Jodie came on board, we began to evolve this global collaborative design approach. And we have found it to be exciting. The children enjoy exploring and enriching their learning experience. I'm going to talk now a bit, we're going to talk about how we actually got to our global collaborative design.
Okay, so the global aspect of GCD came from our understanding and awareness of the importance of our students' ability to have a position and communicate an opinion on global events and global trends. So Jodie, Debbie, and I are all really passionately and proudly South Africans. So each of our topics or our themes is rooted in a South African context, because this is what's real. This is what our students see. It's the environments in which they're a part of. And in kind of relating the topic or the theme to what they know, we've really been able to engage meaningfully and develop their opinions and allow them the space to communicate these confidently. Jode's mute again.
The second aspect of the GCD program is the collaborative aspect. So as teachers, the three of us are in the classroom at the same time. So we are able to bounce off each other. We all bring a different dynamic into the classroom. And that kind of fuels the idea of this collaboration with our kids. So we use the program to develop skills that they are able to work with their peers and are able to work in their community successfully. That's the C part.
And the D part is the design. And what we did was we actually took art and technology. And if you know something about the history of our curriculum, design and technology was taken away, and we were all rather upset about that. So incorporating those two gave some structure to the way we carry out our global collaborative design program. And then we also use our cognitive functions that are rooted in instrumental enrichment, which is a Forestine program designed over 80 years ago. The school's been using it for around 30 years, and it's embedded in our schools' thinking and our approach to learning. And basically, that gives us a structure for our inquiry-based learning. I'm going to carry on and just chat a little bit about how we got here as well, because the children are constantly bombarded with information, and trying to make sense of it is pretty difficult, we know, with fake news and all that. So it's really important that they have structure in their lives. So using the cognitive function of input, elaborate, and output, our children in particular who struggle with impulse control, who have challenges in learning, and who are often very anxious, have a strategy in place to think about their thinking. If we break it down a little bit more, when we take in information around us, that our senses is the input. So primarily we use our sight and our hearing, where we interpret the world. And it's at this stage that we have to learn how to discard what's not important and label and order and sort those things that are important. Once you've got this information, you can then elaborate on what you've learned. Very often we think that you take something in, you regurgitate it, and that's it. But in actual fact, real meaning happens when you make sense of your own content. And in that way, we make good use of research, and we relate and define, explain, compare information. What might happen is you might go back to your viewing and listening skills to redefine everything. And at the end, when you want to output, you reflect and evaluate what you have learned. And when we share and communicate, particularly with our learners, because of their impulsivity, we make sure that they are self-regulated so that we don't make rash or irrelevant comments or written reports. Jodie, if you'd explain how this dovetails with inquiry-based learning.
So that's basically how we have programmed the thinking within GCD. The second aspect is the skills. We are skill-based subjects primarily. So these are just 5 examples of some of the skills we use. We look at engagement, exploration, elaboration, explanation, and evaluation. So we use our content and our subject to develop the skills in our learners. It's important to note that these skills are not developed independently. They're all working simultaneously. So all of our work is based is we look at the skills we want to develop and then build the content on top of that.
Okay, so in line with the skills Jodie spoke about earlier, we roll out a learning process. So this is done in 3 phases. Our first phase is ask. And in this phase, we really want our students to explore the topic or the theme that we're covering at that point in time. They have various different opinions and perspectives, and we really promote engagement in order to expand our understanding of the topic. We use apps such as Edpuzzle in order to do this, but our aim at this point is really to motivate our learners to move to the next step, which is mediation. In this phase, we really we promote investigation, research, engagement. There's a lot of collaboration, so across grades, across peers, between us and our students. And this really allows our students to make meaning of the information and have a standpoint and a viewpoint. Finally, we evaluate. In GCD, as Jodie mentioned, we are a skills-based subject. So our cycle tests, our assignments, our exams are all skills-based. There might be some preparatory work that they have to do coming into the testing situation, but it's on how they've processed the information and how they're communicating it. That's how we evaluate them. We also use a lot of reflective assessments, so self-assessment or ticket out the door type assessments. And this is done through using Flipgrid or Google Forms. depending on the topic. Finally, our real aim is to assist our students in communicating their viewpoint. This is tough for our students. So equipping them with the confidence to have a perspective and to stand by it and to be able to argue it is one of our goals that we work towards consistently. One of the ways that has been really successful for us in doing so is by implementing games. Dragon's Den would be an example of how we've done that. And this really allows all those critical thinking skills that Jodie mentioned previously to come together, and it allows our students to confidently express their opinion.
So that is kind of how the thinking is based and how we structure our lessons and the process that goes behind it. We then realized that we needed to ground our subject in a global perspective. We wanted the kids' learning to become tangible and relatable so that they could see it in their day-to-day living, not just in the classroom. So this is where we brought in the United Nations Sustainable Goals as guidelines for us. So there are 17 goals that range from reducing inequality to poverty reduction to climate action. We use these goals to ground our students in the lived experience. We wanted to make sure that they understood that they're part of like a macro world as well. Then we bring it right down to the micro level where they are able to see that through their day-to-day living, they can apply these skills to make a difference in their world. So we really focus on action, applying our skills in our day-to-day living. So that's our structure of how we got to do it.
Okay. So we have been able to use GCD as a wonderful tool to enrich learning that takes place in other subjects with other themes. So as I mentioned earlier, I facilitate our EMS program at school. And I have worked collaboratively with Jodie and Debbie in the EMS curriculum alongside GCD. So what we have done is this little diagram here will just briefly highlight how we've done it. We have 3 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals in the center, and they're quite complex and tough for young global problem solvers to understand. So what we've done is I've got the EMS objectives, the CAPS objectives surrounding it, how we bridge the two. So those goals in the center and our objectives on the sides, they dovetail and kind of come together quite nicely. But how we bridge is through the development of those skills Jodie mentioned earlier. So through engagement, exploration, elaboration, we've been able to create this pathway that really allows our students to confidently express an idea, and it's not restricted to the subject that they're in. So it's really been a lovely collaborative approach.
Jodie?
So this is our final thoughts in this.
I think we're battling to hear you. So perhaps I'll just say, we want to create a mentality that drives action and that allows our students to think critically in a dynamic world. And that's designed by all of us joined together. But Jodie's disappeared. It's been really a dynamic way to work. The 3 of us, we'd never met each other before. And there's just I think it shows that you can't do something on your own. It works much better. 3 heads are better than 1. I don't know what you feel, girls.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's been all of us come with different skill sets and a different experience, and it's really provided a wonderful dynamic to really unpack these topics and hear what our global problem solvers have to say about these different topics.
Yeah,
I think, well, from my side, I think what all 3 of us hold quite dearly to us is the child. And so I think it's really a child-centered subject, and we're really focusing on developing the kids as human beings versus just giving them content. So I think all of us have that passion behind it.
Yeah. So Karen, I see that you asked why critical thinking is important for young children. In this world, as I said, unless you can make your own mind up, you're going to be a little sheep. And I think that, I mean, I actually am so inbuilt with critical thinking. I can't even think why you wouldn't want to have a child thinking critically about things. Imagine if in the last 20 years we'd had a bit more creative thinking, critical thinking, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we are in now.
What is critical thinking?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if many people know about your school. Perhaps just tell them a bit about Bellavista, and you referred to the children finding it difficult. Perhaps tell them about that.
Okay. Well, many of the children are dyslexic, not all. And so because they struggle to read and therefore write, they can't put out what they know. And so we teach them strategies to cope with that. They're still going to have dyslexia, but we give them strategies. And there have been numerous successes of children throughout in the last 35 years of successful people who struggled with that. I see there's a question here. The approach. It's actually, we've been cheeky and we've developed a subject of our own, but we are incorporating art. So that's our caps. And then for the grade 7s, we're incorporating technology. So that covers that cap, those caps. And we just found that children make meaning of something that is relevant to them. So when we have natural science and you have a task, if you can add something, it will make it relevant to their lives and they will remember it. The interesting thing is that we did our exam, we did it in a slideshow, and at the end, we still had another week of school in late July. So we set up the Dragon's Den as a task, and we were absolutely blown away. We had some children online and some children at school. These children do have learning difficulties, but they had 15 minutes to look at a website and pretend that it was their own, and then go to Dragon's Den and ask for more money. And we were actually gobsmacked because they came up with all the things they'd learned about in the UN goals and what they'd learned in EMS. It wasn't for marks. It was for the sheer delight in talking about what they know. And we make the UN sustainable goals relevant because right now COVID actually was one way in to show the children how that was in 1918, that was a global pandemic that set about that the UN, because of the First World War and because of that was set up. And so the relevance is suddenly in 2020, we're listening to the UN. And then that has made the children more positive about the future. Last year we did something on One Planet, and the children were ready to give up. These current grade 7s, they said, "Oh no, there's no future for us." And we said, "No, there is. You know, we can work towards something and make a difference." And EMS, you say that too.
So EMS is Economic Management Science. Yeah.
And the difficulty this year is usually the children.
Ladies, I just want to say thank you. Oh, sorry, go, Debs.
No, that's fine.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for being involved and for sharing your passion and actually helping your students which are from a support school and how they're actually thriving and succeeding. So thank you so very much for sharing today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity. We want to share with others. Thanks, Drew and Jodie. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.